Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Former President Obama took a minute to chastise black men for not supporting Kamala Harris in her 2024 presidential campaign. Better get the cool slow, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue.
My understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got health care, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting down? But, you know, because of Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble, and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. This shouldn't even be a question.
Now, at this press junket, former President Barack Obama took a minute to go out here and castigate foundational Black American men for their lack of support for presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And at this press junket, former President Barack Obama said that he was upset about Black men not going out here and looking to go out and support Kamala Harris in her campaign to become the first female president of the United States, and launched into an onslaught of shaming language, going out here chastising Black men for not going out here and supporting Kamala Harris in her 2024 presidential campaign. And the condescending way he talked down to Black men was not something that would give Black men any incentive to go to the polls, to go vote for Kamala Harris, because the way he basically talked to Black men was the same way a racist would talk to Black people. Moreover, it's the way a male would talk to a child, and that type of disrespect basically isn't going to help the whole campaign as related to the Harris campaign. And the way he basically talked to Black men, again, just was utterly disrespectful. And as he talked about why there were a lot of Black men weren't expressing the same enthusiasm for Kamala Harris that the way that they did for him in 2008, he basically was proving the point why many Black men like myself are choosing to stay at home instead of going to vote in this election. Now, when it comes to Barack Obama, he was standing there talking about how many Black men didn't have that enthusiasm that we had for him back in 2008, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for it, and that's because over the course of the 8 years of the presidency of the so-called first biracial Black president, many Black men didn't get any sort of tangible in exchange for their votes. No, many of us foundational Black American men got absolutely nothing from the first Black president, so-called. No, when it came to Black males who wound up losing their lives, like Trayvon Martin, like Michael Brown, and many others, we couldn't get a tangible of justice from the first biracial Black president, and we couldn't get our own first Black attorney general to file civil rights charges against George Zimmerman, who's still roaming free. We couldn't get any sort of charges against the rogue police officer who took the life of Michael Brown, and we couldn't get any sort of justice at all for numerous racial incidents. Moreover, even a Black guy who basically, Henry Louis Gates Jr., couldn't get any sort of respect from a racist officer who arrested him. When this man was invited to the White House, this white police officer disrespected Obama to his face, and instead of giving Black people anything tangible, Barack Obama basically gave people in the alphabet community, gave Hispanics and other minorities tangibles, and he sits there and wonders why Black support dropped for him from the course of 2008, where people were enthusiastic in the Black community. They thought Barack Obama would give them hope and change. But we didn't get any hope and change, and nothing changed for black people, and that's where people's perception of Barack Obama wound up changing overall. And it wound up changing overall because most black people, we saw we weren't going to get anything tangible from this so-called black president, something the late David Carroll tried to explain to people in his viral classic masterpiece, No Hope, No Change for the Negro. He tried to explain to most black people who were basically spellbound and caught up in just Barack Obama's color of his skin, but they didn't look at the content of the character of this empty suit. And this empty suit, when it came to the black community, basically had the same paternalistic mindset of many white supremacists, the same paternalistic mindset of many white supremacists whose only view of black people is to see us as children, and spent most of his time talking down to black people. And the way he talked down to black people basically alienated the entire black voting bloc, and he basically is still sitting here thinking that he has some resonance to black people, but most black people don't care about Barack Obama because Barack Obama showed his contempt for black people. And because he showed his contempt for black people, when we hear him coming to us with this shaming language, telling us that we need to go out here and support Kamala Harris, well, the critical question we have to ask is, what tangibles is Kamala Harris going to provide for foundational black Americans? A critical question that many black people ask, that Kamala Harris basically answered in 2020, a question that she answered in 2020 when she went out here and said she wasn't going to do anything specifically for black people, and basically laughed at black people as this question was asked to her.
Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that.
Now, as she expressed her contempt for black people by saying that she wasn't going to do anything specific for black people, that basically put the nail in the coffin for Kamala Harris as a candidate, because when it comes to elections, elections are supposed to be a payday, and they're supposed to be a payday where people are supposed to be getting a tangible in exchange for their vote, and Kamala Harris hasn't offered any sort of tangible to black male voters. No, there's nothing on the table for the black male voter, so the black male voter has no incentive to go out here and go support a candidate who basically has a long track record of persecuting black men. I mean, if we look at Kamala Harris's track record as related to her being a district attorney in San Francisco, if we look at her track record as being Attorney General, she has basically gone out here and persecuted black men by going out here and making it where they wound up remaining in jail as related to charges, and kept people in jail beyond their sentences, which is basically a violation of our Constitution. Moreover, as she raged a campaign, she went from going to go out here and persecute black men to persecuting black women with her truancy campaign. So most black people, when they look at Kamala Harris, do not see a candidate who is looking out for their best interest or looking to offer them anything tangible. And there's no incentive for black people to go out here and vote for Kamala Harris at all, especially black men, based on the track record of Kamala Harris as an attorney general and a district attorney and how she persecuted black men. Most black men have no incentive to go out here and continue to support a candidate who is not supporting them. And that's what flies over the head of this Barack Obama, a deeply disconnected and detached individual from the issues of foundational black American men. And what he wants to do is go out and talk down to foundational black American men in a condescending fashion, thinking this is going to get the base excited. But what he's doing is alienating the base of black men like myself, because when we look at Barack Obama, we see a man who basically disrespected us for 8 years, a man who expressed his contempt for us for 8 years, and basically, after expressing contempt, now is out here showing that he has really not really changed, and that makes it where we have no real incentive to go support any candidate that's standing behind him, especially one that has a record of persecuting black people and talking down to us and saying, oh, you guys should have some enthusiasm for this person like you did in 2008. Well, in 2008, a lot of people were spellbound by the color of Barack Obama's skin, but now that we know the content of his character, we really don't have a reason to vote for him or any candidate that he endorses, because that candidate basically is going to give us the same amount of nothing that he gave us back from his terms from 2008 to 2016. And that's what basically is so sad about the Blue Party. When they come to the black community, they're not coming to the black community to talk to black men and say what they're going to offer black men, because again, politics is a business transaction. It's a business transaction where you're going to present what you're going to offer the person as related to what you're going to give them for their vote. And what's really sad about Barack Obama and members of the Blue Party, even though they talk all of this stuff about Donald Trump being a racist and Donald Trump going to destroy democracy, they are not showing how they are really eager to try to stop this from happening by going out here and offering a voting bloc that you alienated, that's part of your base, that you really need something tangible. No, what they do is basically continue to believe they can take the black vote for granted, believe that they can take the black vote for granted, and that they basically can go out here and look to marginalize and ostracize most of the black men out here who are out here frustrated because we look at the track record of the Blue Party as related to the amount of nothing that we've gotten since 2008 from Barack Obama. Again, we got no justice in the case of Trayvon Martin. We got no justice in the case of Michael Brown and many others. Not to mention, we didn't get any of those jobs during the Great Recession. A lot of black men were still unemployed and underemployed, and we also continue to get further persecuted by the Biden administration, which basically looked to support things like the jab mandate. Not to mention, when it came to black communities, we don't get any sort of support for tangibles that we want, like an anti-black hate crime bill, because most black people, again, we're the targets of anti-black violence. And we see Asians, when you had both the House and Senate, immediately get an anti-Asian hate crime bill passed. And you've got money to pass an anti-Asian hate crime bill, but black people who have been suffering racism and anti-black hate ever since this country got started, we can't get an anti-black hate crime bill to prosecute these people like these race soldiers, these Karens, these suburban commandos, these individuals. We can't get these people to be punished with an anti-black hate crime bill for the terrorism they participate in. Not to mention, we've had all sorts of bills that basically died during the Biden presidency, such as that John Lewis Voting Act, such as that police reform commission. I mean, and the Lift Every Voice program that just basically disappeared. I mean, these blue party politicians have done absolutely nothing for black people, but you have them telling us we need to support Kamala Harris. We have people like Barack Obama telling us we need to support Kamala Harris, but Kamala Harris has done nothing to show us that she's going to support black men. And we're supposed to just fall lockstep and follow in the footsteps of a ragdoll dance, entranced, spellbound, and looking to fit ourselves into a black box that's acceptable to white people, all because this house slave Barack Obama, this empty suit, tells us to. And that's not how it works in a country where people, I thought, as related to our Constitution, as related to black men, under the 13th Amendment, we had the so-called right of a U.S. citizen. Moreover, under the 14th Amendment, we have the right to vote. And again, I thought we had freedom of choice, but it's clear to me that Barack Obama, like I talk about in my novel Spellbound, wants us all to fit into this black box that's acceptable to white people and vote for the candidate that the white leftist tells us to vote for, and wants us to vote for this candidate even though this candidate is bringing nothing to our table. I mean, you've done nothing for black people, and we're watching as everybody is getting something. I mean, we're watching migrants who enter the country illegally in these sanctuary cities getting thousands of dollars. We're watching as Ukrainians who basically are coming to the country are getting thousands of dollars. We're watching as people who are, again, they're getting all of this money, and we're watching all of this go on. And while we go out here and vote in large numbers for blue, blue is not doing nothing for foundational black Americans to deal with all of our economic struggles, and that is the disrespect that many black men are tired of. And when we get tired and look to walk away, we have Barack Obama looking to come at us again, talking down to us in a paternalistic fashion, similar to the old black pastor or one of the other bootlicks on the plantation, just like the other bootlicks on the Blue Party plantation, like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, again, a rich guy who has made hundreds of millions of dollars from his movie theaters, hundreds of millions of dollars from playing on the LA Lakers, an old man who basically has lived very well. He's telling black men who have been struggling for years due to a racist job market with an HR brick wall controlled by white feminists that keep them from coming in. He's telling brothers like me, oh, we need to go out here and vote for Kamala Harris. Well, there's nothing on the table for black men like myself. Nothing on the table for black men like myself. And as Barack Obama was making that whole statement, he calls black men who don't support him Pookie. No, it's not Pookie that's not supporting you. And that's a generalization that really shows how Barack Obama sees black men who are outside of his elite circle. This biracial black man raised by a white woman basically sees all black men the same way racists do. And he talks down to us because, again, of his daddy issues, where he believes that he basically wants to persecute black men and see black men as less than, wants us to see black men as less than, and then wants us to go out here and support his candidate because they're going to, again, do something. It's going to be able to preserve so-called democracy. And again, how are you preserving democracy? By insisting that a black man doesn't have his right to make his own choices. Critical question I would like to ask Barack Obama as related to his paternalistic and condescending approach at black men. How are we preserving democracy? How is this the right choice when you're not, again, looking at why black men are not supporting you? Moreover, you're not looking to offer black men anything. And as you look not to offer black men anything, you insist on taking black men for granted and not seeing that this approach is the thing that alienated black men back in 2016 to stay home and started motivating black men that were out here to look to vote for Donald Trump, and not seeing that your whole approach is the thing that led to the Blue Party winding up in the situation. I mean, it's Barack Obama's whole condescending approach that alienated a lot of black voters from looking to support Hillary Clinton, because supporting Hillary Clinton would have been another extension of the disrespect and contempt that was shown to us by Barack Obama. And that disrespect and contempt was shown to us with the Biden presidency and the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office. And now Barack Obama basically has created what I believe possibly could be the jump the shark moment as related to the Harris campaign, which basically, as I see it, ironically, had Barack Obama come out here because they clearly see in the polls that black support has basically dropped for Kamala Harris. And instead of realizing that you've picked a candidate that really isn't a good candidate as related to black voters, you went out here first trying to promote her as a mixed race black person, but most black people know that Kamala Harris isn't black as related to the way many of us see it. And many black people, we don't want to support Kamala Harris because we look at her record. We look at her record and don't see a record where there's anything for us. And because we don't see anything for us from either candidate, this is why many black men are staying home. And this is where we get the straw man argument from some of these people. Oh, because you don't want to support Kamala Harris, you want to support Donald Trump. No, that's not the case at all. No, that's not the case at all. I myself don't see supporting either of these candidates the same way I didn't want to support either of these candidates in 2016 or 2020. No, I didn't see anybody on the table offering anything to me, like the anti-black hate crime bill, like reparations to pay me back for the over 25 years that I lost due to the current and ongoing discrimination that has been going on in the job market, the Jim Crow racism, the work that basically kept the labor that they got from my ancestors. I don't see anything on the table tangible for me. I mean, since I don't see anything tangible on the table for me, then there's no reason for me to go out here and support any candidate unless they're putting something in my pocket. And when it comes to Kamala Harris, again, Barack Obama doesn't see how he basically is the catalyst for a lot of what's going on here, because back in 2008, he promised black people hope and change, and since black people didn't get hope and change from him, this is one of the reasons why you saw a lot of people basically deciding to stay home after 2012. I mean, if you look at the poll numbers, we basically saw Barack Obama got 98% of the black vote in 2008 because people were supporting him based on the color of his skin. And in 2012, his numbers started to drop. And in 2016, after the Obama presidency, it went from being a shoo-in from Hillary Clinton to her winding up losing to Donald Trump because black voters stayed home, and black voters started staying home because they saw nothing for them. And while they were able to again scare black voters with COVID and get Joe Biden in, sadly, they brought nothing to the table for black people. In fact, Joe Biden expressed his contempt for black people at a meeting with civil rights leaders and said he wasn't going to do anything for black people. Well, now they're trying to get Kamala Harris elected, and they're basically panicking at the poll numbers, which are, according to some reports, are not going well for Kamala Harris. And because they see the poll numbers getting bad, this is where they're panicking, and this is where they're trotting out for all of these celebrities like Jessica Alba and Julia Roberts and many of these celebrities that are old, trying to tell a new generation of voters they need to support Barack Kamala Harris. They need to support Kamala Harris, and they're hoping that they can persuade people to support Kamala Harris. And now they've got Barack Obama coming out, along with Magic Johnson, Julia Roberts, and Magic Johnson and Jessica Alba. And I looked at it and I said, you've got all these old Gen X celebrities, people who are in their 50s and their 40s out here trying to persuade black voters and voters to support people. And again, these celebrities, their time was basically over at this point. I mean, when's the last time Julia Roberts starred in a movie? Another critical question I have to ask to have any influence on white women. When's the last time Jessica Alba, a woman who has made hundreds of millions of dollars with her Honest Tea company, ever been out here and had the struggles of most people? I mean, these are people who are millionaires and billionaires basically trying to tell us who to vote for. And you have Barack Obama, again, the former president, who basically alienated the black vote, going out here and further alienating black voters, showing us that he hasn't changed. And that's basically making it where black people have seen that there's no hope of anything changing, and especially black men. When it comes to heterosexual black men like myself, we see nothing changing for us for under a Harris presidency, and based on her track record, she's going to be looking to go after heterosexual black men. Again, she has the same daddy issues that Barack Obama has, again, from this foreign-born man, and wants to transpose it onto black men. These daddy issues that both of them have, they want to transpose it onto black men and look to participate in anti-black racism. And what's really sad is that as I'm listening to this so-called lecture, this lecture is one of those things that shows me why foundational black American men like myself don't want to listen to Barack Obama. We don't want to listen to him because he's not offering us anything or any reason to vote for anyone. Again, when it comes to us, we went through 4 years of Donald Trump. We already went through 4 years of Donald Trump, and we see that he wasn't going to do anything for us, and we can basically wait out another 4 years as related to things, because why should I vote for someone who has a record of persecuting black people? I mean, you say Donald Trump's a racist, but you don't see how you participate in anti-black racism by persecuting both black men and black women. That's what they don't see with Kamala Harris, and they want to make it like she's the better choice when the best choice for black men is no choice at all. I mean, why should I choose the destructor as related to Gorza when it comes to either of these candidates? I mean, neither one of them is going to do anything for me, so I have no reason to take my booty to the poll, because this so-called talk about democracy isn't giving me any sort of real choice. No, it's not giving me any sort of real choice. So if I don't have any real choice, then the best choice for me is to stay home, because if there are no tangibles on the table, there's no reason for me to vote. I mean, I'm a registered voter here in New York, which is basically a state that's going to go to Kamala Harris, but there's no reason for me to add a vote to either of these candidates, because neither of these candidates is offering me anything tangible to get out of my long-term unemployment. Neither of these people are looking to support a black-owned business like mine and help out a black-owned business. No, they're bringing nothing to me at all. And again, the whole condescending way that I've been talked down to by Barack Obama and Kamala Harris shows contempt for black people. And again, if you're not going to show respect to us as related to us as a group, as a collective of black men, then I have no reason to support you, because respect comes first. Because he wouldn't talk to Hispanics like that. He wouldn't talk to Asians like that. He wouldn't talk to Jews or Muslims like that. No, he believes he can openly disrespect black people and believes he can take a black vote for granted. And that's the thing that really is the thing that really he's not getting. You've alienated black male voters, again, giving us nothing, showing us nothing but disrespect, and want to think that this whole display is going to encourage black voters both black men and black women to vote for Kamala Harris, well, this whole display may basically be the thing that keeps more black people from taking their booties to the poll, to sitting at home on election day and having a good laugh as Kamala Harris basically crashes and burns as a candidate, because since they can't show us respect and offer us tangibles, we have no reason to go out here and vote for Kamala Harris or any blue party candidate, because those candidates are not giving us anything at all. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. Now, I said I didn't want to do political videos, and I don't want to do political videos because of these toxic people. Again, toxic people who basically have polarized everything and made everything a nightmare. But when I heard this video and saw what was happening, I just decided to talk about it. And as I talk about it, again, this is going to be the last thing that I talk about regarding this situation. Just the last one I'm going to talk about, because I look at this and again, it absolutely disgusts me that this blue party just doesn't respect black people. And the way Barack Obama talked down to us shows us he doesn't respect us as a voting bloc. And again, just decided to come out here and talk about it because something needed to be said. Now, if you want to see me make more videos about other subjects, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American paranormal romance. Get The Temptation of John Haynes in paperback and e-readers today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.